Morning again. Mr. Lesham here, and we are moving on to the cosine rule. Okay. Cosine rule, I don't know if it's a little bit more complicated, maybe it's a bit longer, but at least we don't have fractions here, so maybe that makes it a bit easier. So we've got our usual triangle, the sides are A, B, and C. The angles are A, B, and C. I put the angles on the outside just so, because sometimes that's what you'll see in the drawing, okay? Sometimes it won't be inside. But this is angle A, this is angle B, and this is angle C. Now, the cosine rule actually starts in a very familiar way. If I want to find out A squared, that's simply going to be B squared plus C squared. What is that?
B squared plus C squared.
A squared equal B squared plus C squared. What do we call that? We've learned that. That's Pythagoras. But Pythagoras is only correct for 90 degrees triangles. So if this was a 90-degree triangle, I could have stopped here. But in a normal triangle, we have to continue. Then I need to do minus, okay, time. Okay, so I've got the opposite side. The opposite side, this side is going to be equal to that square plus that square minus 2 times BC. So I'm multiplying those two together. And I'm multiplying that by cosine of the angle opposite to A. So cosine A in this case. Okay? Actually, just remembering it is a little bit of a challenge. Okay? Now, that is cosine rule when I'm applying for A squared. But I can do the same thing for B squared. So if I want to find B squared, well, the first bit is going to be, well, it's going to be A squared plus C squared. Okay, so if I want to know that, I'm going to just do the square of that, this is the square of that. If this was a 90-degree triangle, it would stop here. But it's not. Or even if it's not, then we need to do minus. Let's see if you can help me out here. It's going to be minus 2 times what?
AC.
Time AC. You see, just like here I had BC, so I did BC. Now I have AC, so it's going to be minus 2 AC. And again, we're going to multiply by the cosine of an angle. What angle? The angle opposite B. Just like here we had the angle opposite A, which is angle A. Here we're going to have cosine what?
B.
Cosine B. Okay, check that I got it right. Yeah, okay. And then we can do a final version for C. If I want to find out what C squared. Now you can maybe tell me. So C squared is equal to what?
BA squared.
Not BA squared, but A squared plus
Yeah.
B squared. Okay, so C squared is going to be A squared plus B squared. If it was a 90-degree triangle, we could stop here, but it's not. So we're going to have to do minus what? 2 AB times cosine C. Okay? So that's the free version of in this specific triangle. It's always going to be a side square equal to the sum of the square of the two other sides minus 2 times the product of these two sides. In this case, it's BC. Okay? Times cosine the angle. Okay? I'll pause here and let's do a question. So we've got a triangle. Is this on? Yeah. We've got a triangle. Can you see the whole thing? You do. So I know that this side is 22, 28. The angle is 97. We are asked to find QR. Okay? We are asked to find QR. Now, to be honest, can you find it using the sine rule? I think you can use it to find the sine rule. So that divided by, can I do it using the sine rule?
Yes. You said E over sine E.
Can't really, unfortunately, because if to use a sine rule, I need, okay, I don't know if when it falls, but whenever you have two sides and angle, the best thing is to use the cosine rule. Okay, we'll talk about when to use what maybe later on, but it's already, you noticed that. So we want to find out QR. Okay, so that's going to be, that side is going to be the one that is outside. So we're going to say QR square. We'll have to later on find what QR is. QR square is equal to what?
28 squared.
28 square. Okay, so we're saying basically this square is equal to that square plus 22 squared. So the square of a side is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two.
1
22 times
28
28 times 22 times cos
97.
97. Well done, Bruce. Well done, Bruce. Fire. Okay? Do you see what we've done? You kind of, with the cosine rule, you shouldn't really just memorize this. You should understand what it means. Okay? What it means in words is the square of a side is equal to the square of side, other side plus the square of the other side minus 2 times the side and the other side times the cosine of the angle between them. Okay? So what we want to do now is find QR. So what are we going to do? We're just going to put that all under a cozy square root. 28 squared plus 22 squared minus 2 times 28 times 22 times cos 97. And you just put that in your calculator and you'll give me a number, please. Okay, we'll pause here. So I'm told we're getting 37,66 and a little bit of exam technique, or I don't know what to call it. There was a question, can I skip this stage and just write straight away after you write that final QRS? And my answer was probably not a good idea. It's a good idea to show that you actually have to take a square root of it. What you could have done, you could have said, okay, QR is equal to the square root of this, and straight away 36. That's fine, then you don't need to write that. That's fine. Okay, let's pause and move on to another example. Okay, so one more example. Here, okay, they give us a triangle with all the sides, 9, 16, 19, and they're asking us to find this angle. Now here we won't be able to use the sine rule. Definitely won't be able to use the sine rule, because for the sine rule, I mean, what's the sine rule? The sine rule is A over sine A equal B over sine B. Okay? I've got no angles here whatsoever. So if I don't have any angles, I won't be able to find the other angles. So that is definitely just a cosine rule. Okay? Now, what does the cosine rule say? Cosine rule says that a side square, take a side square, it's equal to the sum of the squares of the other side of the triangle minus 2 times the two sides times cosine the angle between them. So, yeah, I know. You need to understand it. Okay, I can write it down for you. Okay? I'll write it down for you. A squared equal B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. Okay? Now, here we want to find the angle. So, we need to decide what are going to be our A, B, and C here. The cos A will be, in this case, will be cos A. We're going to have cos A, because that's what we're after, right? Right? The question is, let's work backward. There will be minus 2. The question is, which one are the B and the C? Is that these two sides, these two sides, these two sides? Okay, we're building it up. What are going to be the B and the C?
9 and 19.
9 and 19. Because we want to know A, cos A, then these sides are not just random sides of the triangle. They are sides on either side of the angle. The sides that are making that angle. Okay? Right? So in this case, it's going to be times 9 times 19. Okay? And now we can figure out what this B squared and C squared. Well, it's the same one, right? So it's going to be 9 squared plus 19 squared. Are we happy with that? And then that is equal to what squared? There's something squared here. Which side? 16. Well done. Okay? You see how we build it up? We build it up. First of all, we start with what we want to know. What we want to know is the cosine A. Once I know cosine A, then it's easy to find what A is. So I want to find out what cosine A. Okay? Then I need to say, okay, cosine A. See, that's why it's not enough to just remember this line. You need to understand what these B, C's are. The B and the C are the sides that are creating that angle. So in this case, it's going to be 9 and 19. So we're going to have also these guys are 9 and 19, and that means that's the one opposite them, which is 16. Are we all right with that? Okay, now we want to find cos A. Okay, so how are we going to find cos A? We can use the calculator for these businesses if we want. Okay, what is 16 squared? Help me out here. And
1,600.
1,000?
No, so it's 250. No, 256.
No, it's 256.
9 square is 81. 19 square?
361.
361.
361. Minus 2. Okay, what is 2 times 9 times 19? 18 times 19.
342.
300 then?
42.
42. Cos A. Okay. Add these things together. Okay, let's write it down. Okay, 256. What is 81? It's 442. Minus 342 cos A. Okay, now what should I do?
Can't you say 256 minus 100 cos A?
Well, what I really want, I want to find what cos A. At the end of the day, I want to find what cos A. It's not the end of the day. After that, I actually want to find what A is. Okay, but I want to find cos A. Now he's negative, so let's put him to the other side. Okay, so we're gonna write 342 cos A, but then I want to get rid of that. So we'll minus. What is 442 minus 256? Need help on that one?
186.
186.
186. And then what is my next step?
Divide by 4.
Yeah, divide by 482. So cos A equal 186 over 342. Now that I would put it in the calculator because that's going to be some nasty fraction. Like I said, I'm not interested in A, cos A, I'm interested in A. So how do I find A? What do I need to do?
Inverse.
Inverse what?
Oh.
Sine?
Cos.
No, inverse cos. Inverse cos of 186 over 342. Put it in and we'll hopefully get an angle. 57,5. Okay? So I'll pause here and let's get you to do a bit of work. So what we're going to do now, I just got to show you that. Again, chances they're never going to ask it, but I'm going to show you where does this cosine rule work, how to prove it. So I'm putting this triangle on a Cartesian plane. So that's the x-axis, that's the y-axis. Now, point A of the triangle is exactly here. So the coordinates of A are 0, 0, right? Triangle C is on the x-axis, so its y is 0. Okay, so the answer is yes, it's B. Okay. Now the more tricky one is point vertex B. Okay, vertex B is in some kind of random x and y, which we don't know them. We don't know how far they are, but we just call it xb and yb. So this is xb, and this is yb. Okay? Alright. What are we doing now? I don't know. Okay, yes. We want to find out cos A. We want to find cos A. Using our basic knowledge of trig. What is cos A? It's adjacent over the hypotenuse. What's the adjacent side? How big is this adjacent side? What is it? xb. So it's equal to xb divided by hypotenuse, which is c. Okay? What am I doing next? Sine A. It asks me to find sine A. Okay, I'm just showing it to you. You don't need to remember. What is sine A? It's opposite divided by the hypotenuse. What's the opposite? How long is this thing? YB. And we divide by the same hypotenuse, which is C. Okay? Right, next thing, I'm going to rewrite this as xb equals c cosine A and yb equals c sine A. Okay? Just rearrange. I found xb and yb, okay, in terms of c and the angle A. And now what I can do is simply, what am I doing? BC squared. Okay, so now I want to find what BC squared is. Okay? BC squared is simply going to be that. squared plus that squared. Okay? What I'm going to do, guys, I'll pause here. I'm going to record it, put it on the video, and if you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't, it doesn't matter so much. Okay? But I suggest you watch it once. Okay? Cheerios, guys. Bye-bye. Okay, so where were we? We're trying to find BC squared. Okay? Now, maybe before I start doing it, I'm going to call this point O. The point where this line, this little height really, touches the x-axis, we call it O. So, you know from Pythagoras, okay, that BC squared is simply BO squared plus OC squared. But now we have some information about what these things are. Okay? What is BC? For example, BC we know is A. So it's going to be A squared. What is BO? Okay, well BO is the value of Y here, it's YB. So in other words, it's YB, but I know what YB is. It's C sine A. So I'm going to write C squared sine squared A. What is OC? OC, well, it's not XB. This is XB, and this I know is B. So this is going to be B minus XB. Okay? OC is B minus XB. But what is XB? XB is C cosine A. So OC is going to be the square of B minus C cos A, all of that squared. Okay? Now I'm going to pause here, just make sure I didn't make a mistake. Alright, everything is good. Now what we're going to do is just open it up. So we're going to write A squared, nothing we can do here, sine A, sine squared A. Here we have to open up using our normal formula that you guys actually know as well. Okay? B squared minus 2BC cosine A. That's starting to look a little bit familiar. Okay? Plus the square of this term, C squared cosine A squared. Okay, that looks very messy. But at this point, let's see what we can do. A squared equal, let's start with the terms that are actually quite good for us. Okay, I know, let's put that. So we've got C squared sine A squared. That's this term. And basically what I'm doing, factorizing, but you also know that. Okay, factorizing the C squared out of those two terms. So it's going to be C squared sine squared A plus cosine squared A. So that's these two terms. Then I'm going to add B squared and minus 2BC cosine A. That's actually already good. That's already, we're almost there. Okay, what is sine squared plus cosine squared? You guys don't know that, but you guys know it. Okay, that's just one. Okay, that's one of the basic trig identities. So what I've got here is A squared equal C squared times 1. I don't need to write the 1. I've got plus B squared minus 2BC cosine A, and voila, we got the cosine rule. Yippee! Okay, bye-bye.